We've got practice observations from the first day of veterans and rookies together at OTAs, but that is just the beginning of our conversations today on Locked On Commanders.
You are Locked On Commanders, your daily podcast on the Washington Commanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this episode of Locked On Commanders, your daily podcast covering the Washington Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks so much for making Locked On Commanders your first listen of the day every day. Don't forget that you can subscribe for free on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this podcast. And you can continue this conversation with me by becoming a Locked On Commanders insider. Go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnCommanders. Sign up today and join the ever-growing group of insiders that are getting news, analysis, one-on-one conversations with me that go beyond the show. No hashtags, no apps, no filters. Become a Locked On Commanders insider. Join subtext.com/LockedOnCommanders. We're getting new members every single week, and I appreciate all of you for continuing to sign up for that and for interacting with me the way that you do. I'm David Harrison, credential member of the media covering the Washington Commanders for CommanderGameDay.com, a part of Sports Illustrated's FanNation. I'm here with you every Monday through Friday, along with our everydayers. And as always, everydayers, I appreciate your continued support for the show. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. On today's episode, I've got a little bit of a special message for you from me to you at the end of this episode, so I hope you stick around to hear that. We're going to address some rumors that are going around right now, but first, we have got practice notes. On Tuesday, we were out in Ashburn, Washington Commanders practice, first practice of OTAs, veterans and rookies on the field for the very first time. And you know what? I'm just going to start with the play of the day, and it didn't involve Terry McLaurin. It didn't involve Jayden Daniels. It was rookie wide receiver Luke McCaffrey and third string quarterback, maybe fourth string quarterback. We'll see how that battle turns out. But Jeff Driscoll throwing the ball to Luke McCaffrey. Luke McCaffrey stretching out, diving into the end zone to make the catch after getting behind undrafted free agent cornerback Chigozie Anuzium. Easily the catch of the day. A touchdown, a clean throw, clean pass, clean catch. All of it was just very, very good for the offense. The defense is not going to love seeing that on tape too much. But Chigozie Anuzium, the undrafted free agent out of Colorado State, did have some good moments. But just wanted to give a little bit of a shout out to Luke McCaffrey, the rookie out of Rice, Jeff Driscoll, the third string. I'm going to pencil him in as the third string quarterback. Wanted to do that right off the bat as we talk about OTAs. But let's stick with Chigozie Anuzium, right? Let's kind of follow this thing through as we go through the process here. The undrafted free agent, rookie cornerback out of Colorado State, got some run against the first team offense with the first team defense. And we use the terms first team. And I want you guys to all remember during this portion of the offseason, especially, and even during training camp, to be quite honest with you, the terms first team, second team, take them a little bit loosely. There's a lot of rotating going on. There's a lot of things happening. You know, there were times where Marcus Mariota, who was the first team quarterback at the first OTA, was on the field, and Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson are both on the sideline. De'Ami Brown, Luke McCaffrey maybe are out there on the field. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean De'Ami Brown and Luke McCaffrey are going to start over Terry and Jahan Dotson, anything like that. So just kind of take these first team, second team conversations with a grain of salt. And remember, it's May, right? So there's a long way to go to determining who the actual starters are going to be and all this stuff. But there were some opportunities for Chigozie Anuzium to get on the field against number 17, Terry McLaurin. And certainly Terry McLaurin won his fair share of those battles, as you would expect. But I'll tell you right now, guys, Chigozie Anuzium held his own against Terry McLaurin. He did some really good things, made a couple of really good plays, had a PBU on Terry. There was one play where he actually came over the top of Terry McLaurin, was able to deflect a pass. Kind of looked like he got intercepted on the deflection. I couldn't really tell if it hit the ground or not, and the officials weren't really there for those kinds of calls and things like that. But either way, a good play by the undrafted free agent. And it's impressive because really, when you look at a guy like Chigozie Anuzium, really what kind of made him the most intriguing was his physical brand of play. And right now, contact's not allowed. There's no pads. There's no tackling. He can't hit Terry McLaurin when he's going to make a pass, right? The best thing he can do is kind of reach over, like I said, come over the top and try to get his hand in the way. He can't land on him. He can't ride his back. He can't do any of those things. So you almost kind of expected maybe he wouldn't be able to flash as much during this portion of the offseason program because of those limitations. But he actually made a really good amount of plays against Terry McLaurin, and then just in general as well, wearing number 23, wearing the yellow gloves. It was really easy to see him. Sticking with the cornerbacks, we heard from Emmanuel Forbes after practice on Tuesday. Also heard from Jahan Dotson. new tight end Zach Ertz, new linebacker Frankie Louvu, and we heard from guard Sam Cosmi all after the practice. And the returning guys have all been talking about the excitement, the new feeling around the organization. And what really stood out to me in these post-practice conversations is Sam Cosmi straight up talked about the communication. He was asked about the difference in communication between this staff and staffs previous. Not, the question wasn't pointed at like Eric Bieniemy, Scott Turner specifically, but, Sam Cosmi, that's who he's dealing with the most in the head coach. But he was asked about communication. Is it really that much more improved this year over previous years? And Sam kind of paused for a second, but then he said, you know what, I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah, it's a lot more improved. And he really kind of hit on the same thing we've been hearing from a lot of guys. Jayden Daniels has talked about it. Other offensive players have talked about how Cliff Kingsbury, as an offensive coordinator, is much more open to feedback, much more open to input and receiving input from his players. And Sam talks about how important that is, how, obviously the coaches have to make the decisions at the end of the day, but the guys with the cleats in the turf, the cleats in the mud, they have a vantage point of the game, the competition that's going on that is unique to only them. Like nobody knows what's happening at right guard more than Sam Cosmi knows what's happening at right guard. So if he's got input to give to the offensive coordinator, if he's got input to give to the coaches, it's valuable input. And he appreciates the fact that that's being received for one and respected. So I asked Cliff Kingsbury when he spoke to us after the players. So that stood out to me. So I asked Cliff Kingsbury about being that type of open leader as an offensive coordinator. And he responded, quote, I learned a quote a while back, good ideas, no rank. And so if you got a good idea, I want to hear it. It's not always going to go in, and they know that, but I'm going to listen to it. And a lot of times these guys have been other places, whether it's San Fran or Philly or somewhere where they've had a lot of success. And if there's a better way to do it, I'm all about it, end quote. And I love that answer. First of all, I love the saying good ideas, no rank. And I hate the fact that I spent 20 years in the United States Army and never heard that saying. I've heard the theory, and I subscribe to the theory myself, certainly, but just that series of 5 words, good ideas, no rank. It's amazing and it's perfect. And I love that approach by Cliff Kingsbury. I love the acknowledgement. It's not always going to go in. It's not always going to lead to action, but I always want to hear what you have to say. I'm always going to respect what you have to say. And the players knowing that, that's that buy-in, that's that sense of ownership that these players can really get for this offensive system and for this team. I think it's incredibly important. Some other practice notes. Marcus Mariota was running with the first team when you had all 4 quarterbacks lined up together throwing at the same time. It was Marcus Mariota executing the cadence. Don't get worried about it. I haven't seen a whole lot of people blowing up about it, so that's good. But in case you are maybe a little bit like, oh no, I thought Jayden Daniels would be the number 1 quarterback starting in May. Don't worry about it. It's not necessarily the case. Jayden Daniels was the second quarterback. In fact, Luke McCaffrey was the only rookie running with the ones. Every other rookie, Ben Sinnett, obviously, Johnny Newton was not on the field. Good news on his front. He did have surgery on Tuesday. It was considered a successful surgery. Should be back in time for the season. I expect he'll probably be back sometime during training camp, if not ready for training camp. So good news on that front. But Luke McCaffrey was the only rookie that I saw getting some run with the ones as far as your drafted guys. Again, Chigozie and Newsium obviously was over there, but Mike Sanders still was on kind of the second quote-unquote field. Marcus Mariota did throw multiple interceptions in 7-on-7s. Jayden Daniels didn't throw any, and a grain of salt with that. Again, I say that's just what I saw because they had the 2 fields going at the same time. So there were times where Marcus and Jayden were both executing 7-on-7s at the exact same time. I've only got one set of eyes, guys. I can't watch both. So again, if I missed a turnover, something that you heard of, don't fry me for it. But again, I did witness Marcus Mariota throw a couple of interceptions. Jayden Daniels, didn't see him throw any. Speaking of the 2 fields, we've done a lot of conversing here recently on the show every day, as you'll know that, about the newness of this coaching staff and the approach that this team is taking this offseason, this practice session. And that's one of those things, the 2 fields. Dan Quinn told us about it before practice. He said, you're going to notice during 7-on-7s, we're going to have 2 fields running at one time because he wants to get as many reps in as possible. And it kind of struck me how simple that idea is. Running 2 sets of 7-on-7s at the same time. You got Marcus Mariota running one, you got Jayden Daniels running another, then you got Jeff Driscoll running one, and you got Sam Hartman running another. You got 4 quarterbacks, and they're basically rotating every other set with another quarterback. And it kind of blew my mind of like how simplistic that is. But the fact that you don't actually see that everywhere. And so again, it's not like this grand idea, right? Like you hear this idea and you don't go, man, what an innovative thing to think about. But the bottom line is you don't see that everywhere. Honestly, I've been covering the NFL since 2015. That's the first time I've actually seen a team do that at practice. one, you need all the coaches to do it. So you got like Brian Johnson, you got Anthony Lynn, you got Cliff Kingsbury, right? But you also have Joe Witt Jr., you've got defensive-minded coaches, Jeff Simmons, all these guys, Ken Norton Jr. So one, you got to have the staff you trust to run both sides because they've all got to be on the same page. But also, man, just getting as many reps as possible is just one more thing to like about the way this new coaching staff is doing things. Again, we don't know what the win-losses are going to look like right now, but what I can tell you is the process is legit. The process is very exciting. The players feel it. The fans, I hope you guys are feeling it. I can't wait for you guys to see it firsthand at training camp. The media certainly is enjoying it. Even in the pouring rain, we were enjoying it. Shout out to Sam Fortier and Zach Selby, the only two beat reporters who brought umbrellas on the day with rain expected. Candy Waller, Bowie TV, brought a parka, so shout out to her as well. Smarter than the rest of us. But we got some rumors on the trade front and schedule front to talk about here. Coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It is winner take all time in the NBA and the NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers, you're going to get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. The NBA playoffs are ramping up big time. The Denver Nuggets went down 2-0 to Anthony Edwards, one of the future stars, if not a current star, future GOATs of the league, like current time GOAT, not putting him in the MJ category. Let's calm down on that. But Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves took a 2-0 lead over the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets, defending NBA champions, have won 3 games in a row, winning their third Tuesday night to take a 3-2 lead over the Minnesota Timberwolves. Spoiler alert, I do think this thing is going 7 games. I think the Timberwolves take the next game, and then I got the Nuggets winning game 7. If you're like me, put $5 on that. If you win, you get $150 in bonus bets. You could also look at the NHL. The Florida Panthers are still trying to keep up in there, trying to get that Stanley Cup win, trying to up their odds. Whatever it is you want to bet on, go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Thanks again for making Locked On Commanders your first listener, your first view today and every day. Everydayers, make sure you come back tomorrow. We are going to break down the entire Washington Commanders schedule, talk about week 1 to week 18, bye weeks, primetime games, all of it. In the meantime, are you watching Fox Sports and ESPN on your television all day, realizing that you got to turn down the volume when all the shouting begins? Make the switch over to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every single day to bring you the biggest stories without all of the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Big shout out to our guy, my guy, Insider Merle, who came through the Insider text, sent me a text message on Wednesday morning asking me a question about a rumor report that he had heard that Washington and the Miami Dolphins were having some trade discussions. Now, I can just tell you right now, just like the draft process, the team's keeping a tight lip on all this kinds of stuff. So I don't have confirmation that they are legitimately in conversation with the Miami Dolphins on a potential trade. But if the person reporting it is the person that Merle talked about, I've met him. I know about him. I'm not saying we're like buddies, but he's a reliable reporter, Omar, out there in Miami. So I would tend to believe that it's potentially true. Doesn't necessarily mean that a trade is coming, but if it were to come, who could the Miami Dolphins be interested in on the Washington Commanders roster? I think your first and foremost answer, the most obvious one, defensive tackle Jonathan Allen. Then I'm going to put out another name, wide receiver Dyami Brown. Now, behind the Dolphins' top 3 receivers, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Odell Beckham Jr., they do have a need, right? Braxton Berrios, okay, he's a solid piece, kind of a niche type of guy. Dyami Brown could certainly fill a role for the Miami Dolphins as their number 4 wide receiver. If the Washington Commanders don't really see a major role for him, Martavis Bryant, free agent working out for the Washington Commanders on Wednesday, previously was with the Dallas Cowboys. Dan Quinn obviously comes from the Dallas Cowboys. You kind of have to believe if the workout goes well, if the physicals come back okay, Martavis Bryant probably going to get a shot on this Washington Commanders roster that can open up the door for Dyami Brown to head elsewhere. Certainly the Miami Dolphins could have a need for a receiver like Dyami Brown. I'm a fan of Dyami. I like Dyami. I think he's still got potential he could reach. I would hate to personally see him leave, but you know, we've seen this trend from this Washington Commanders staff this offseason. The guys that they're inheriting are not necessarily guys that they're super in love with. So Wouldn't necessarily be surprised. Plus, they let Mikey Sainer still take number 2, man. And I mean, like that's a sign. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not saying that it's officially going to happen, but that is a sign when somebody lets a guy get your digits. Like they didn't even make him pay Diami for it or nothing. They just gave him the digits and said we'll figure it out later. That's a pretty big sign of what this team thinks about the future for Diami Brown. So unfortunately for me personally, looks like Diami Brown could be headed on his way out, whether it's here or it's some other way. You know what I mean? I can't tell you if it's necessarily a trade to Miami, but I think the writing is kind of on the wall there. Now, on the Jonathan Allen front, the Miami Dolphins lost defensive tackle Christian Wilkins this offseason. That was a big surprise. A lot of people expected Miami to be able to lock him down. Not only that, they didn't draft an early defensive tackle. Johnny Newton was a guy that maybe the Miami Dolphins could have looked at to possibly replace him. So could they be looking at a veteran like Jonathan Allen? I don't see why not. This is a team, the Miami Dolphins, who believe that they're in a championship window. They got Tua Tagovailoa, again, those 3 receivers, a pretty solid defense. We got to watch that defense in person in FedEx Field last year. So you go and replace Christian Wilkins with a guy like Jonathan Allen. I mean, I don't know how the scheme fit is. That's not really my concern or my responsibility in Miami, but you can't necessarily shake a stick at the idea of the Miami Dolphins wanting Jonathan Allen. Maybe they want both. You know what I mean? What could that trade look like? So the Dolphins have 9 draft picks next year, and you have to believe that Adam Peters and Washington Commanders are probably going to be targeting draft picks more than they are like a player swap, right? So the Miami Dolphins have their own first, their own second. Philadelphia's third, their own fourth. They've got 2 5th-round picks and 2 7th-round picks. So for me, if the trade is for Diami Brown alone, I think you're probably getting one of the 7th-round picks, maybe a 5th-round pick. If Washington says they send Diami in a 7th, maybe you get the 5th. Diami in a 6th, maybe you get the 5th, right? Something like that. If it's Jonathan Allen, and some of you guys aren't going to like this, I think given the money that he's owed, given the age that he has, I think the fact that he's also going to need a new contract if the Dolphins plan on making this any more than like a 1 or 2 year rental, I think your ceiling is probably that Eagles 3rd-round pick. I don't know that you're going to get anything higher than that. I think the Dolphins will probably try to give you a 4th, maybe work out a situation where it's, hey, it's the 4th, but if John Allen makes the Pro Bowl or something like that, then you get our 3rd, something like that, right? So again, right now it's just rumors, and the rumors are just that the Commanders and Dolphins are talking. There's not even players tied to the actual rumor. So big grain of salt in this conversation, but I thought it was an interesting topic. Merle and I were talking about it, texting about it Wednesday morning. So I thought, hey, if we're having this conversation, I find it interesting, maybe everybody else will too. So hopefully you guys found that a little bit interesting. Of course, the NFL schedule release is the big news happening on Wednesday. There are schedule rumors, leaks happening at the time of this recording. Washington at Tampa Bay seems to be a thing in week 1. I covered the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a long, long time. I still write about the Buccaneers for BucsGameDay.com, a part of Sports Illustrated's FanNation. So, I've got some affinity for the Buccaneers just for giving me the opportunity to break into this business the way that they did. Of course, I love the Commanders now, and covering the Commanders is a great thing. So going to Tampa with the team that I cover now, going up against the team that I used to cover, seeing a lot of those guys there in the beat in Tampa that I know and in the team that I know and some of the players I got to know over the years there would be just an amazing way to open the season for me selfishly and personally. So I'm kind of hoping that is true. Also, JP Finley reporting, he's got a source that says the Washington Commanders will come back home week 2 to host the New York Giants and then travel to New York to play the Giants in week 9. And then week 10, Washington versus Pittsburgh in Washington seems to be a thing. So the good news there is week 1 and 2, it's an away and a home. So you're not back-to-back on the road there. Week 9 and 10, also an away and a home. So you're not back-to-back on the road there. We'll have to see what week 8 brings to see if that happens there. I was hoping for a week 9 or a week 10 bye week. Doesn't look like we're going to get that, but that's a little bit of what we know here Wednesday early afternoon as we lay down this episode. Of course, the full schedule drop in Wednesday around 8 p.m. Our next episode, we will have a full breakdown of the Washington Commanders schedule. Before we wrap up this episode, though, I've got a little bit of a special message from me to you. Hopefully you guys stick around to hear that coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode of Locked On Commanders is brought to you by Game Time, and Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting your playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seats, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. I actually had a buddy who took his son. They drove about 3 hours to the arena and then bought tickets on Game Time right before tip-off when the prices were about at their lowest. A little bit risky, to be quite honest with you, but it worked out. He was able to give his son, share with his son, a very cool sports memory. No NBC games in DC right now, but the WNBA's Washington Mystics are at home against the Chicago Sky and Angel Reese, former LSU Tigers college basketball star, on Thursday. There were tickets there for as low as $153. The Nats are hosting the Miami Marlins on Sunday for as low as $5 a ticket. You can get into that as well. Game Time has last-minute deals that save you up to 60% off of buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, all kinds of stuff, flash deals, and you can take the guesswork out of buying all your tickets with Game Time. So download the Game Time app, create your account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create your account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Wrapping up today's episode of Locked On Commanders, and I'm going to do it a little bit of a different way. I'm going to take the veil down a little bit here. So this Wednesday episode, dropping a little bit later than I had anticipated it because I had to go. I didn't have to go, but I attended our Locked On Podcast Network town hall meeting with our CEO, David Locke, who is also the creator, founder of Locked On Podcast Network, brought me into the Locked On Podcast Network back in 2017 with my then co-host of Locked On Bucks, covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, James Yarko. And man, just having the town hall meeting with him, I was just overwhelmed with this feeling of thanks and gratitude, not just for him, not just for the network, but for you guys. And I wanted to kind of take a moment here, kind of, like I said, drop the veil a little bit, and just kind of talk about this, right? So when I started with the Locked On Podcast Network, we were doing 5 episodes a week all year round. $13 a month, guys, is about what we were making to start with at Locked On Bucks, James Yarko and I. That's $13 a month, 5 episodes a week. Think about the work that goes into that kind of thing. You know what I mean? And it's been life-changing, but it's been life-changing because of you guys. I'm going to be honest with you. It started with Bucks fans, right? But it's only accelerated because of Commanders fans. And it's only accelerated because of Washington fans. This is my 3rd year on the beat. And you all have embraced me larger, more widespread, and in bigger ways than I could possibly ever imagine that you guys would have. You let me in the gates, right? That's kind of the way, like, there's gatekeepers to everything in this life, right? Whether it's your career, a club, a fantasy football league, right? Like, whatever it is, there's gatekeepers to everything in this life. And you guys really let me in, and you guys have really embraced me as a member of this beat and a member of this Commanders, content, podcast, media, community, whatever you want to call it. Everydayers, all the everydayers out there that I've met over the years, you guys let me into your life for 2.5 hours every week, sometimes more with bonus content, right? And that's why, like, when I'm sick, you know what I mean? If I can go when I'm sick, I still go. Even when I'm not feeling well, if I can do it, I do it, because that's why, like, when my voice isn't the greatest right now, like, it's better today than it has been, but it's still not all the way back, I still push through because it's worth it, because you guys have really trying to change my life through this whole thing. Because of you, this show is successful. It's not just because of me. You know what I mean? It's because of you guys, because you guys come through. You have choices, right? There's traditional media out there. There's new media. There's fan media. Commanders fans, like, you guys have no shortage of options of where you go to for your news, information, conversation. And the fact that so many of you support this show, the fact that so many of you allow me to be that person that you converse with, to be that person that you talk about this stuff with, it means the world to me, man. It wasn't always my dream of mine, to be quite honest with you. This was a dream that was honestly born of tragedy. My best friend in the Army at one time, was unfortunately killed in Afghanistan. And when that happened, like, it really kind of just threw my whole kind of, like, grasp of, like, life into a little bit of a swirl. Like, he wasn't the first friend I lost, unfortunately, but again, my best friend in the Army at the time, like, for whatever reason, like, his loss just hit me harder than any other one did. And it really kind of made me think about, like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? Not just now, but, like, in the future, like, what is this all for? Like, what's the point? Right. And that's when, like, his big connection with me, like, our biggest connection was sports. He was a Florida Gator fan. I'm an Ohio State fan. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of trash talk, obviously, but, like, that was kind of our biggest thing, right? So I was like, okay, I want to do something connected to that. And that's really kind of how I got on this path. So like when you guys let me in here and like when I go to cover games, when I do this kind of stuff, when I have the success, I want you to know like it's not just me that you're impacting. Like his widow and his sons, like they see this, they know about this. Like when I retired from the Army, like they were there and they were, there were messages of like, it's almost like he's retiring with you and all these things. Like so it impacts, the impact is very, very real. I know the ads can be annoying sometimes, right? Like I get it, but that's how we keep it free. You know what I mean? Insiders, you guys pay for extra communication and that's an added bonus for you, but it's also an added bonus for me. Like that connection with you guys is amazing. And so, I just want you to know I'm getting just as much, if not more, honestly, from like a mental health life aspect part of this. I'm getting as much, if not more from you guys that you guys are getting from me. So again, you guys made this possible, man. The slogan here is your team every day, but I cannot possibly communicate to you all how much I appreciate all of you. So again, we were talking about the network today and the health of it. It's amazing. There are some other outlets out there like The Athletic. They scrapped their local podcast network. Yes, SB Nation scrapped their local podcast network, and they're all saying, it's not possible. But meanwhile, Locked On is growing. You know what I mean? We're getting even better. And there's some things on the horizon that I wish I could share with you, but I honestly can't, that are coming at Locked On that are just even better and more amazing. I'm just so proud to be a part of it. But, I also wanted to reach out to you guys and just share my appreciation because you guys make all of this possible. So I wanted to share that appreciation with you to end up this episode. So again, coming up tomorrow, guys, we'll do a full reaction on the Washington Commanders schedule. In the meantime, if you got questions or comments, just throw them down in the YouTube comment section. Locked On Commanders Insiders, text me directly if you want to get in on that. Join subtext.com/LockedOnCommanders to start that today. Don't forget, check out Locked On Sports Today, the first ever 24/7 live streaming sports channel on YouTube. And as always, thank you for making Locked On Commanders your first listen or your first view today and every day. Until we speak again, if you're out and about, please, please, please be safe, be kind. I'll see you next time for another episode of Locked On Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.